All right. Okay. So basically, did you guys get to watch the previous videos of the previous of my previous course?
Yes, yes.
You watched the whole thing?
Not all of them, but I just watched one video, the first one.
Okay. All right. All right. No problems. Okay. So it's good to watch the whole thing because I'll be teaching what you call it. I'll be teaching I won't be teaching computer programming basically here. I'll be teaching more above that, like MVC.
Yeah,
Okay. So I don't know if you've seen this in the video tutorial, but this is Visual Studio here. Can you guys see my screen?
yeah. I can.
Okay. Mohammed, can you see my screen?
Yes.
All right. Cool. Okay. So basically, did you get to watch my video, Mohammed, the previous course?
Not all of them.
No, all of them. Okay. All right. Cool. Try to watch it as much as you can.
Yeah.
So this is Visual Studio. Okay.
Yep.
So this is the development platform for Microsoft computer programming. Okay.
Yep.
So I did some previous course where I explained a bit about how to do some coding and all that stuff. So I won't go through the code. But to create a new website, you would go here, File, New, Project, and you would go and create a, just loading. You would go and create a website. Okay, so you would go web, so you got your things to choose from. Your to choose from. There's a lot of things here. Like if you want to create an Android app and other things, you can do that as well. The main thing we're focused on is web. MVC is a web-based application. Okay, MVC is it's called Model View Controller. Okay, so basically it's kind of like a design pattern of the development framework. So the Model View Controller. Okay, so I'll show you. I'll create a default website, a simple website first, and I'll show you what that is, and then I'll go to show you what MVC is. Okay. All right. So if we go, I'm just creating a web application here.
Yeah.
So I'll give it a name. So I'll just call this test web application. I'll just call it test web application 2. Right. And I'll click OK. All right. Now here it gives me the options of what type of templates I want to use for the development. Here's the MVC. Okay. But to show you, I'll start off with the empty I'll start off with the empty template to show you the difference between MVC and this one. Okay. So if we click OK, we'll start off with the empty template. Okay, so here it's created a web page here. Okay, test 2 web applications. Okay.
Yep.
If you watch the previous tutorial, the previous course, I covered a bit about. I believe I covered a bit about web.config, but it comes with these files. Okay, the main file you're concerned with is web.config. Okay. So here we have a web page, okay, and here we have the web.config. The web.config, you would store things like the connection string to the database. Do you guys know about the database? Did you study a bit about that?
Yep.
Mohammed, do you know about the database?
No.
Okay. So when you create a chatting website, for example, okay, the data gets saved to the database. Okay. So for example, you're writing to your friend, hey mate, how you going? Okay. That data gets saved to the database. Okay. Then he'll reply, I'm going well. That data will get saved to the database and also show on your chatting box, you know. Most complicated websites have databases like email, for example. A lot of that data is getting saved in the database, and then when you send a message, you send it. The message gets saved in a database. The receiver of the email message will see the message open from the database, and they'll see the message from the database. Okay, so here is the database here. Okay, so this is SQL Server database. Okay, so here you can create database tables, and we created a previous table here called employee. We created a previous database here called employees. But yeah, so I could. Do you want me to give you a run through a bit about the database, Mohammed?
Sure.
Okay, so here is the database, all right? So if we right click and click on new database, for example, let's create a new database. All right, we'll call this, let's just say we're developing, actually, how would you say? Let's just say we're developing a mobile app, okay? And we call the app, let's just call this the chatting website, okay? So we're developing like a WhatsApp chatting website, okay? So chatting, we'll call it just chatting DB, okay? You can give them more proper names, but in this case we'll just call it chatting DB. Here is a chatting website, okay? Chatting database, okay? Now you start off with tables, okay? There's no tables here, and basically you can create tables. So the first thing you do is you create a table. And you create, first thing you probably do is create your contact table. So you'd say here, you create a primary key here, you call this contact ID. And the data type will be an int. I'm not going to go through a lot of it. If you go through my previous videos, I'll explain those to you more in details, what the data type is and all that. Int is basically integer. And you create an ID to have a unique field in each row in your database. Okay, so we set this as the primary key. So the primary key means it's a unique identity for the database record. Okay, or for the table record. So we set this as a primary key. We set this as an incremental value. Okay, this will increment. Every time a record is created, it will increment one by one. Okay, I'll show you what it means. And we'll create a simple one. We'll just call this first name. Think of this as an Excel sheet. Okay, have you used Excel sheet, Mohammed?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yes, sometimes.
Yeah.
I'm not really good at it.
So these are your column names, right? So first name, last name. These are your columns, right?
Yeah.
You have your phone. So you have your phone, you have your address, okay? So mvar means a text value here. So we're giving a text value, and this specifies here the 50 specifies how many characters do we allow in this text value in this column. So we would say with address would have more text values. For example, we'll put 2,000 just to be on the safe side. Maybe less than that. Maybe 1,000. but 1,000 characters can fit in the address. Okay, and we'll just right-click Save Table, and we'll call this the contact table. All right. All right. So if we refresh the table here, we have the contact table. All right. And if we select the table here, here's our table. Currently, there's no records in here. Okay, contact ID, first name, last name, phone, address. There is no record in here. If you want to add a record, you can go and add a record here. So the first name, we'll call it he. We'll call this he. What you call it? George Bush. Okay. Phone number and the address. He will call it he. 123 Washington Street. All right, and we'll probably give it a bit more detail. Sydney, New South Wales, 2000. Okay, this is our first record. See, when we created the contact ID, we didn't have to when we created the contact, we didn't have to populate the ID. It created this one automatically for us. So the next record we create, the contact ID would be 2 automatically for us. Okay, so we have here Barack Obama. Okay, and we'll give him a phone number, and he is for George Street, Sydney, NSW 2000. Okay, so you can see the contact ID has been created for us. Okay, can you see that, Mohammed?
Yeah.
All right. So if we close this, now if we do a select query, this is the SQL query. You have the select, you have the update, you have the delete, and you select, update, delete. I think there's one more. Select, update, delete. I think that's it. Select, update, and delete. Okay. So you can select. Okay. So this one is doing a select. It's selecting the top 1,000 records in the contact table. Okay. And if you execute it, the request for procedure contact fails. Contact is table not allowed. Just 1 second. Let me do that again. If we go, yeah. Select. Here we go. So we selected the top 1,000 records from this database table. Okay. So currently we have 2 records. Okay. So watch my previous tutorials, and I'll go more in detail in those ones about the the SQL, the database tables, the store procedures, those type of things. Okay. But in this case, we've got 2 records. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, the thing is, what you can do is you can this is the database table. If you wanted to populate this on a web page, you can do some queries in the in the website, this website here, and you can retrieve that data and and show it in the on the web page. Okay, so this is the database. It's getting saved here. All right. The next person might create another record and save the data, and then you can retrieve it and show it into the database. Okay. So I'll go back to the web page. So here's the website. This is not an MVC website. This is a general website. Okay. You have the main file to focus on is the web.config. Okay. If you want to connect to the database here in the web.config, there should be a connection string. Connection string. You can add a connection string value that connects to the database. Connection string. You specify the connection string name and specify the name of the connection string and then the connection string to this database itself to connect to this database. Okay, I've explained that in the previous video tutorial, so I won't go through much on that. But if we do connect here, I'll let you know. Okay. All right. So so here's the web.config. Now, by default, the way to create a web page here, you right-click here, and you'll add a new item, all right? Web form, all right? And you can call this like the home page, all right? Home page, or we can call this in this case we'll just call this the home page. All right, so we click on add. Okay, so we created a web form here from the web. We clicked on add, and it's created the home page for us. You can see here home.aspx. All right, and then if you wanted to add what you call it, some we'll just call this welcome to my home page. All right, and then if we wanted to view this, we'll just go here, we'll click on play, and we can let's see if this plays. So you can see here home.aspx, okay, and it should show the header. Welcome to my home page, okay. And if you look at the previous course I did, I explained in detail about on the home page you have your toolbox, you have your toolbox, you have your buttons, your everything, your what you call it, text box, you know, and then you can go and create like a registration form, for example. Okay, so maybe I'll do a quick demo to show you about a registration form. All right, so if we call this here registration form. You might give your web page a proper name like registration or contact us, you know, .aspx. Okay, so and we'll add a table here, ASP table, and not an ASP table, just a normal table. We'll add the table row and the table header. Sorry, just the table D and TD. Okay, so we have here the first name, right? And then we have the text box here. Just get the text box, and we just drag it here, and it's done the code behind us, first name and the text box. Okay, so the same thing with the last name, so we'll go here. So we've got the text box, we'll give it a proper ID, we call this TXT first name. All right, and the last name, we'll go here, last name, we'll give this text box value of txt, last name. Okay. All right. So if you wanted to create a submit button, okay. So if we go here, let me just take this. All right. Just leave this blank, and we can create the submit button here. ASP button ID VPN submit text submit. Yeah, there's your submit button. ASP button ID. All right, run at server. Okay, with each ASP.NET web control, you have to add the run at server. Okay, and you can see here behind it there's the ASPX file. All right, this is where your code goes. Okay, so we have the home.aspx. If we click on the submit button, it creates an event for us, so we can go here. We can go here, response.write txt first name. We'll just write txt first name. Dot, yeah, the text value of the first name. Okay. So if we play this. So here we have so here we have first name, last name. So we'll call this here Donald Trump. And if we click on submit, right now it's just writing the first name we specified on the web page. Response.write writes the name on the web page. But obviously in the background, what you will do is you probably submit this data to the database, and the data will get saved here in the database table. Okay, so Donald, another record here, contact ID, Donald Trump, contact ID will be 3, Donald Trump, then the phone number, then the address. Okay, you can add more. Right now we're capturing the first name, last name, but we can add more text box to capture the phone number and the address. Okay, so do you understand that, Mohammed and Burumbai?
Yeah.
All right. So that is normal
Yes.
page development. Okay. Now, I'm more MVC. I'll show you what MVC is. So if we go to another Visual Studio instance, then the reason why I showed you normal web page development is it's easier to understand. Okay. One thing I want to show you in the normal web page development is you can go here, add new folder, and you can call this I don't know, the login or something like that, and you can create web page within the login. So if you go add new item, call this here login.aspx, right? And we'll just go here, please login. And if you play the video, if you play the web page, if you start up the web page, so we have login. You can see here we have login. This is the folder name. and then this is the web page name. All right, and it ends with a .aspx. Okay. So if you want to go back to home.aspx, and it'll take you back to home. Okay. All right. So we'll create an MVC page now. So we have, this is a bit more complicated. So you guys really need to focus on what I'm going to do. Okay. We create a new project. We create an ASP.NET web page. We'll call this here test MVC web application 1. Okay. So we'll go OK. And now we'll create an MVC web application. Okay. So by default, you have the authentication here. You can choose Windows authentication or no authentication, or if you want individual user accounts or something like that. Okay. So the way this authentication works is if you're working in a company and if you're linked with Active Directory. Do you guys know what Active Directory is, Kurum? Do you know what Active Directory is? Hello?
I don't know that.
You don't know?
Maybe I remember.
Okay, Active Directory, when you go to a company, all right, especially the IT department, they'll definitely know about this. When you log in, when you join a company, right, then what they'll do is you'll have Active Directory has users and groups, okay? So what they'll do is they'll create a new user in Active Directory, right? And they'll create a user for you, and then automatically, and they'll probably add you to certain groups, like the admin group, or the finance group, or the sales group, whatever group you belong to, and then automatically you should have access to certain things already, like what you call it, that sales group in the past might be linked to a website which has information about sales and those type of things. So those type of things you'll have groups. So it's a think of it as just a group thing, user and groups, and then you can connect to it when you add yourself as a user, or when the IT department adds yourself as a user, then you get connected to the Active Directory group. When you go to the Active Directory, when you have Active Directory group, when you select Windows Authentication and you create a web page, it will tell you who you're logged in as. Okay. It will say welcome Kurum it will just say welcome Kurum to the web page. All right. When you start off the web page. Okay. So anyway, let's just do no authentication here, and we'll create an MVC, and you can add unit test classes as well. I won't go through. Actually, I'll create a unit test class, but I'm not sure if we can go through unit testing. But at least we'll create a web page and we'll click OK. All right. Okay. So as you can see here, this is the MVC. You can see here, this is very, very different. Okay. If you look at this, this is the web page. This is the normal web page we created, login, home. Okay. And look at the MVC web page. Okay. Now you'll probably get lost here when you see all this. Okay. And if you click on play, okay, by default it's created some things for us because we selected the Mvc template, because when we created the project here, we selected the empty template. Okay, so let's play here the Mvc template. Okay, we'll run this. I'll show you what's happening in the background. Okay. So by default, it's going to the home page. All right, it's done this template for us. So this is the ASP.NET MVC template. Okay, now where is it getting this data from? How is this getting populated? Okay, so the way it gets populated is if we go back to the where's the code? All right. So here we have the okay. Here we have the controller, which is the home controller. Okay. Here you have the default web page index, and here you have about, and here you have contact. Okay, and it returns a view. Okay, so if we were to go, let me just check here. If we go about, if we type in about, yeah. Actually, that didn't work. Wait, home, about. There you go. It went in the about code. Okay. If you look on the web page, and it goes into the layout. Okay, layout.cs HTML. Just keep in mind when you create a MVC web page, the extension is cs.html. Okay, it's going to the about.cs HTML web page. This is the header 2. It's populating the title, populating the message, and then it's going to the layout.html page, which is the overall, the master page, if you want to call it. For every web page, it goes into layout.cs.html. Okay, it renders the style sheets, the CSS files. Do you guys know about the CSS files? Did you watch that in the previous tutorial, the CSS? Mohammed Kur? No?
I didn't watch it. I don't remember any of that.
Okay, CSS is your style sheets. You can, the way you want to, if you want to design your web page, you use CSS for that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, and then what you call it? It creates a. This is a control action link. Remember the other control we use ASP button. I'll show you later on. This is these are the parameter values, like we call it application name. This is the link it goes to, index.home, and this is the CSS class, nav brand. Okay, and it goes into the home. I'll show you the home. Where is it? I'll show you quickly. 1 second. Okay, it goes to about, it goes to contacts. It renders the body. The body is the about.cs HTML page. And it now renders the scripts. The scripts is your JavaScript function. So like, you guys know about JavaScript?
I've heard of it, yeah.
Yeah, so JavaScript is you can do your client-side query. So you just watch my previous tutorials about the JavaScript. I'll go into detail about that. And this is your about web page. Okay, so if you look here, all right, if we go here, the home is this home here, about, is this about here, and contact is this contact here. Okay. So if I stop this web page, all right. So this is the controller home. We had the index, which is the default web page. We had the about. We had the contact. So what I did when I typed in the URL, I typed in home, and then the web page name. You don't type in this word here. You don't type in controller. You just type in this part here, the first part, home, and then about. And it took me to this web page. Okay. So so if you create another controller, you can call it registration, for example. All right, or maybe maybe actually we can call it like contact. Okay, contact details. Okay, or we could call it contact. So we can, if we wanted to show the contact details from this web page to here, it creates the contact details. Okay, sorry, this is the old web page. This is the MVC. Okay, this is the controller. Okay, so here is the model. Okay, the model is where you create your objects, like for example the contact, right? The object of the contact would be contact ID, first name, last name, phone, address. Okay, I'll show you a bit about that later. And then there's the view. All right, the view is the home. See the home? About. It went to the about web page. All right, view bag title. The title is called about. Okay, this is the header, H2, H3, and this is the view bag.message. Okay, similar, you have contact. You have index, which is the default web page. So you have contact, you have index. Okay, and then you have the shared, you have the layout. This is kind of your master page. All right, this is kind of your master page, and basically you have your action link, your home, your about, the contact. Okay, so if we change this, we call this here home to, about to, contact to, right? And we call this application name 3. So if we run this again, okay, so it's going in the code. I'm just setting a breakpoint. Index, so by default it's going in index. All right, it's going into the index page, index.cshtml. It's going into the layouts, which is the master page. Application name 3, home, contact, and here we go. Application name 3, home to, about to, contact to. These are the menus. Okay. All right. So basically, if you want to get, let's see if we can try to get this contact detail onto the web page. All right. What it'll do here, okay, this is where MVC comes very much in handy, okay, compared to a normal web page. We create a new controller, okay. We go add new controller. So let's create a controller which has link to MVC 5 controller views with views using entity framework. Okay, let's just try this. Okay, let's click add. let me see if this works. The model. The model class. Wait, what's this? All right. What we got to do? We're going to do one thing here first. Sorry. Let me just cancel that. So what you could do in your model, you right click, you add a new item, and we'll create an entity framework. So let's C# entity. I think ADO entity data model. I believe it's this one here. All right, we'll call this here. We'll call this here chatting DB. So chatting DB. All right, the same name as the database here. We'll call this chatting DB model. We'll click on add. All right, here we are. And then we specify the database we want to connect to. So we go next. So we just select default here. Next. We select our connection string. New. We'll specify the server name. So we go here in the database. Here is our server name. Actually, what I'm doing here. This is our server name. Localhost. All right. We select the database. Chatting DB, the one we created. Test the connection. Test successfully. Click OK. All right. It's created the chatting DB entities. It's going to save in web.config. Okay. Click next. Entity framework. I will just choose this one, 6.0, 6 point whatever. Click next. Your tables, which tables do you want to connect to? So right now we only have a contact. Remember we created the contact in the database. All right. Later on, if you want to add more tables, you can add more tables. Chatting DB model. Okay. Click finish. All right, done. So here in the model, just ignore this. Okay. Just loading. All right, so this one's fine. Hopefully this should work. Okay. Here we go. Here is our contact. All right, this contact is linked to this table here, contact. Okay. And now let's go and create a. Let's create a. We've got to contact the model EDMX file. Okay. Now we have a controller here. We'll call this this new controller name contact. And if you look at the view, have a look. Right now there's home and there's shared. All right. When you create the contact controller linked to the entity model, it will create the it will create a view called contact, and it will create the web page names in there, which will be create, view, and something like that. I'll show you what this does. Okay, so just have a look. All right, remember the views, it only has 2 folders. All right, and have a look at the and the controller. We'll create the new controller. New controller. Add controller. We'll call this entity framework MVC 5. All right, let's select the model. We've got the contact model. Okay, we just created the data class chatting DB. Okay, and all right, and now it will generate everything for us here. Okay, we're creating the contacts controller. Click add. One second, let me try to rebuild the project. Go here, right click, rebuild. It's just rebuilding the project. You can see down here it's rebuilding. All right, it's rebuild. Let's create the new controller. Add new controller. Okay, click on add. You select the model again, contact, chatting DB, contacts controller. All right, now it's scaffolding. Okay, scaffolding means it's creating all the web pages on the background for us. Here we go, we've got the contacts controller. It's created the index, it's created the detail, it's created the create, the action result is the create, and it's created the create as well. So if we want to create something, and it saves the data directly to the database. It created the database connection, and it's created a lot of this for us. Okay, it's binding to the first name, last name, phone, address. I'll show you what this is, all right? So let's start off with index, right? So if we now, sorry, let's go to the view. Now you can see here. Now it's created a new folder. View. It's created the web page. Create, delete, detail, edit, and index. Okay. You can see here index. It's created a web page name. Sorry, it's created the controls for us. This is how you create a control, like in MVC, HTML display for this is the display name of the first name, last name, phone, and address. All right, it's picking up the model. The model is address. The model is down here somewhere. Where's the model? So if we go to the model, and if we look here, it's picking up the display name of these values. If we go to the designer, there's a TXT. All right, just searching from in here. I think here we go with the model or the contact. Yeah, it's picking up data from here. Okay, it's doing something in the background with this model. Okay, now if we go to contacts, all right, now if we go here, play. All right, we run the web page. All right, this is going into the home controller. By default, it's going to the we'll just play this. All right, now if we go to the contacts controller, so the typing contacts. Now it's going to the contacts. Okay, the contacts controller. Remember when you type in the web page name on the URL, you just type in this front part. not this part. So you don't call this contacts controller. You wouldn't call it this. You just call it contacts. You ignore the word controller. Okay. So it's just one second. Let me just stop this again. So if we play it again. Okay. So now we have the contacts. All right. So it's going into the contacts. Now it's connecting to the DB contacts table. All right. It's done this code for us. That's the good thing about MVC. It's done a lot of this code for us. Now you can see here when you go to the contacts, it's just loading. All right. Now the first name, the display name, first name, last name, phone, address. Then it's doing a loop for each loop into the table. It's displaying the first name of the table, the last name, so the first name, last name. Okay, phone, address. All right, phone, address. All right, and you have an edit button, a delete button. Sorry, edit, details, and delete. Click OK. All right, let's run. Sorry, it's going again. It's going in the second loop. So the first loop was getting the record George Bush. Now the second record will be Barack Obama. It's looping twice because there's two records in there. Okay. All right. Done. And it's going to the layout. And here we go. We can see the record George Bush coming directly from the database table. Did you guys see that?
Yeah.
Now, if you want to edit this, we can go edit. All right. If you click on edit, what we'll do in the background, I'll just show you. If we just go back to the list for a sec. Going back to the home page. If we click on edit, we will go to this web page here. Edit. It's just going back to the home page, and if we click on edit, it goes to edit. Okay, it's passing the ID, which is the primary key ID 1, right? Because 1 is the this value here. 1. I edited George Bush's record. If I tried to edit Barack Obama's record, it would be 2. Okay, so we edit. It's returning the view contact. All right, the contact. It's created the object for us, contact. Okay, and it's returning the contact record. Okay, and then it's going to the edit page, edit.cshtml. All right, and it's these are the labels: HTML label for, editor for, validate message if you want to validate. And it created all these web pages for us. That's the advantage of using MVC. It creates all the web pages for you. All right, and you go here, here. All right, and then it's going to the layout, which is the master page. So we'll just play this, and then you see George Bush. Okay, now if I was to modify this, if I was to call this George 2 Bush 2, all right, and we click on save, and we go to the web page, home controller, not the home, sorry. With contacts, and if I was to click on save, it will come here. to the post, HTTP post. It's posting the data to the web page now. Okay, it's posting these values: first name, last name, phone, address. Okay, we click on save. It's come here. Okay, so what you call it? It's got the values: George Bush 2, George 2, Bush 2, the phone number and the address. The address and the phone number we didn't change, and it's going to go in and save it. It's saved it. It's returning to the index web page. Okay. And it's populating it's going back to the index web page, index.cshtml, and it's doing a loop. So it's looping two records. First is the George Bush one, and the other one will be Barack Obama. So it's looping here. Okay. And okay, it's looping, and okay, it's looped to the records, and we play here. It's got George Bush 2 and Bush 2. Okay, so if we go here, if we refresh this, so if we execute this again, so we'll execute this again. You can see here the database is changed to George 2 and Bush 2. Okay, you just guys see that?
Yeah.
So you updated the web page and updated the database. Okay, now if we want to create a new record, we'll just create a new record. So if we go to create, it will go here on, we go back to the contacts controller, we'll go create here, and then it will go to the create web page to start off with, and then when we post the data, when we put the values in there, and it should go here, all right, with the contact ID, first name, last name, address. Okay, so let's try that. Let's click on create. It's going here in the view. It's returning nothing at the moment. All right, it's just a blank web page. Sorry, it's not a blank web page. Sorry, it's got the text boxes of all the web page of text boxes of the contacts. It's got the controls of the contacts, so the all the fields. So it's got the phone, the last name, the address. Okay, so we'll just play this, and it creates, and we have a create registration form for the contact. Okay, now if we call this, let's just call this here, what you call it? We'll give it a name. So we'll call this Malcolm. Oh, I don't know how to spell the name Malcolm, but anyway, Malcolm Turnbull. I'm not sure if this is how we spell the name, but anyway, we'll give him a phone number. Actually, we'll just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 phone number, and the address we'll call he is 24 Phillip Street, ACT, I don't know, 2001, I don't know the postcode. All right, so Phillip Street, we'll probably call this here, ACT, CBD, ACT, 2001. Okay, so if we click on create, it's gone into the create HTTP post one here, populating the contact name, the contact details, Malcolm Turnbull phone and all that stuff. It's adding the contact, database adding the contact. We click on save changes. It goes to the save changes. All right, and it's returning the list of the database contacts again. It's going back to the index web page. Now when it loops, Now when you do a for each, you'll for each 3 times. So the first time is the first record, which is the if we look here, there's 3 records here, Malcolm Turnbull. So the first one is George Bush. We'll loop through George Bush's record. The second time, it's going to loop through Barack Obama's record. Okay. And it'll loop once more for Malcolm Turnbull's record. Okay. All right. Okay, so it looped 3 times. And then it'll go here in the layout, and we won't worry about that. And then we can see Malcolm Turnbull and his details. All right. So this is the advantage of MVC. You can link it to the web page directly, and you can link it to the web page directly. And sorry, you can link. You can create a scaffolding which will contact the, which will, like for in this case, it created the scaffolding for the contact table, and it created all the web pages for you. It created the contacts, it created the edit, it created the details. If you want to go details, you just click on details. All right, and it'll go to the details. Those details. Now you can modify, you know, the look and feel here. If you think it's too squashy, you can put spaces and everything and go from there. Go back to the list. Okay, it goes back to the list. So it does that there. Did you guys understand a bit about that? Mohammed? Puram? Hello? Hello?
Oh, no, I understand, yeah.
You understand? Puram, did you understand?
I think he's on mute.
He's on mute. Okay, anyway. All right, so this is basically the MVC model. Okay? So maybe in the next class, next week, I'll just display how to create a view model, and we go from there, and we can wrap the view model. We create a default view model, and what you call it, we'll create a view model here in the model. So instead of using the chatting box, chatting DB model, we create we'll create a view model here, and we'll link that to the, we'll create a controller for that. Okay. All right.
Yeah, I'll watch your videos.
All right, cool. All right, so we'll wrap up the class here. Do you guys have any questions?
No, I'm fine.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
No problems. All right. Take care. Bye.